ESPYs are tomorrow night. Welcome back to Get Up. It's time for a fundamental list, and these are my top 5 players who will make the biggest leap in 2025. Some names you know, some others you're going to be scratching your head. Just watch. I've spoken to sources at all 32 teams. Here is my list. Number 5, New York Giants wide receiver Jalin Hyatt. Jalin Hyatt had an incredible spring, and despite only having 8 catches last year, is viewed as a real option for the Giants this year. He is their deep threat. Kid out of Tennessee had some moments as a rookie. Look for him in year number 3 to be Russell Wilson's deep guy out of the gates in September. Number 4, a name you might not be familiar with, Tez Walker out of the Baltimore Ravens organization. Tez Walker had 1 catch last year. 1 catch. Guess what? He's had an incredible spring, and they are talking about him as a legitimate number 2 or number 3 with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman as the other guys, and of course DeAndre Hopkins. Walker, look for him to make a giant leap in year number 2 in Baltimore and to be a Lamar Jackson trusted receiver. Number 3, Aaron Rodgers comes to Pittsburgh. We know about DK Metcalf. We know about Roman Wilson. Look out for Calvin Austin III. Apparently, he has had a really good spring, and they're very excited about him in the Arthur Smith offense. Rodgers, of course, as accurate a quarterback as there is. Austin has wheels. He can hit him deep. He can hit him underneath. Calvin Austin, a guy whose name we've heard, but we didn't really consider one of those elite top guys. Let's see him have a big year with DK Metcalf on the other side. Let's get to 2 names you definitely know. Number 2, the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback entering the season, Michael Pennix Jr., a top 10 pick a year ago with great controversy. He eventually got in on the roster and got in to start late in the season and played very well. Had a huge Sunday night game. He had 3 starts last season. His pass attempts increased in each one of them. Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, very high on Michael Pennix Jr. And the number 1 player who will take the biggest leap in year number 2 is the quarterback up in New England, Mr. Drake Maye. Sophomore season for Drake Maye. Look for him to make a giant leap in the Josh McDaniels offense. Had a very good spring, despite some reports at a training camp that he threw some interceptions. Ignore that. He is the leader of this franchise already in his 2nd year, and he now has Mike Vrabel as a head coach, Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator, and plenty of new weapons and offensive linemen to protect him. Patriots fans, I am very high on Drake Maye. Here are the top 5 players who will make the biggest leaps. I bring in Mike Tannenbaum, a longtime NFL executive. You have seen a lot. One name that is not on this list we will get to, but first, your thoughts on Pennix and May, 2 and 1 in their 2nd years.
Well, I like Drake Maye. I like what you said about Josh McDaniels, Mike Vrabel, but who is he throwing the ball to? Stephon Diggs coming off an injury, some bumps in the offseason, Peter. Kyle Williams, 3rd-round pick, I like, but he's had some drops, so I like Maye. Big question mark about who he's throwing the ball to and those receivers.
Okay, so both those guys were top 10 picks a year ago in the draft. We have talked a lot about J.J. McCarthy, and last year we talked a ton about Bo Nix. We bring in Graz, we bring in Hawk. Nowhere on this list is Caleb Williams, and that is no fault to Caleb. I just want to see it before I can put it on paper and see what he can do with Ben Johnson. I ask you guys, start off with you, Mike T. Caleb Williams, do you see a giant leap with Ben Johnson in year 2, or is this going to take a little bit more time?
It's going to take more time. He will be better, and it will be bumpy. I had a chance of working with Ben Johnson in Miami. He has great attention to detail, Peter. He will get the most out of Caleb Williams. Last year in Detroit, where he was the offensive coordinator, they led the league in snaps under center. Caleb Williams had a total of 8 in terms of snaps under center in college. When you look at the sacks, he has this natural proclivity here, guys, of running backwards. Led the league at 68 sacks. This has to be cleaned up. I'm sure Ben Johnson is telling Caleb Williams, like every other quarterback, step up in the pocket. Offensive tackles want to push those pass rushes by him, so lots of work to be done here. It'll get better, and it'll be bumpy.
Hawk, you played in the league for many years. Did I make a mistake not including Caleb Williams in that leap, or are you with Mike T that it might be bumpy out of the gates?
It could be bumpy. I'm with Mike T. I don't think you made a mistake, especially since you had no defensive players. And as a receiver, I love that. So you hit it on the head, Peter. I'm all for it. Defensive guys don't make leaps, okay? But for Caleb Williams, to Mike T's point, it is going to be a bumpy road, but I do think you will see a lot of progress over time just because there's so much to the game of football that even though Caleb Williams is so talented, he has to get a grasp of in the NFL, right? And he has to understand that for everything he does, it puts somebody else or another side of the ball or another position or the game in a precarious position, right? So when he's running around, him understanding what that means to his team in the long run will be important for him. And I think it's different than college. And I think he went through bumps that we see from every rookie. But Ben Johnson being there and knowing how he ran that Detroit offense, I do think is going to be a godsend for his development.
Dan Graziano, you talk to everyone around the league. Your thoughts on Caleb Williams, year number 2, with all the additions, including the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think there's a lot for him to still learn. And when we talked to Ben Johnson back at the owners' meetings back in March, you know, one thing I found interesting, he talked about, Caleb only threw 6 interceptions as a rookie. That's great. That's a low number. But he said he's a little more concerned about the bigger picture in terms of the negative plays. Like, an interception's a bad play, but there are other bad plays you can make. There are other that negative EPA plays that, you know, that contribute to what was just up there, his 5th worst QBR in the league. QBR is a stat that measures how many winning plays a quarterback makes, and obviously they want to get that more. So I think you're seeing a situation where Ben Johnson believes he has to break Caleb Williams all the way down, build him up from the feet up, and teach him pretty much everything about being a franchise quarterback in the NFL. That's a big project, and I'm not sure, you know, to Mike T's original point, I'm not sure it happens in just 1 year.
We saw 2 names from that draft class. We saw Pennix and May, and I'm already doing flips about them. Last year we did flips on Bo Nix and, of course, Jayden Daniels, and we think J.J. McCarthy is going to be great this year. How does that affect a young quarterback when everyone else in your draft class is getting all this love and praise, and you're the guy who was drafted 1st overall?
Yeah, Peter, it's a great question. Let me take you behind the curtain. When we were developing Mark Sanchez here in New York, we wanted him to be laser focused on his career, ignore the noise and the distraction. That's easy to say, hard to do. They'll say all the right things. We don't care about Jayden Daniels or any of these guys. That is not true. They are acutely aware of how good these other players are that were drafted after Caleb Williams. They have to do their best to just focus on them and make progress. And in a market like Chicago, Peter, that is difficult.
Hawk, you know, he went 1st overall, and Jayden Daniels had the best rookie season we've ever seen from a quarterback. As a player, does that play with your mind a little bit, or is Caleb one of these guys you think that just focuses on himself and can block that noise out?
It does play with your mind, but the great ones can focus on themselves, right? It really comes down to details. And for the players around him, like when I have a quarterback and I'm in a locker room, I want a quarterback who seems like all they care about is football. We talked about Jalen Hurts earlier, and Jalen Hurts is an icon and a larger-than-life figure. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But when you hear him talk and when you hear what he's interested in and everything he's about, all you hear is football. That permeates. For Caleb Williams, as a young leader of this franchise, that's what he has to show everybody. And if he does that, he will get there, and it's a marathon, not a sprint.
It absolutely is. Great rookie class already. We'll see how they play in year number 2. A guy who has shown what he can do despite not even being a first-round pick is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts came in number 9 out of the top 10 in our ESPN poll. His coach was fired up already going into this season, and he launched a blistering response.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn đã quay trở lại kênh YouTube của mình. Mình hiện làm người làm video sáng tạo nội dung trên nền tảng